We've not always agreed, but you've always been willing to try to be there to solve problems, both for the two farm bills that we've worked on and the implementation of those farm bills. I've got a series of questions I want to ask you, but you know, I am struck by the numbers. In 1954, the average age of an American farmer was 48 years of age. Today, the average age of an American farmer is 59 years of age. And what we see is, with 2.5% of America's population directly involved in the production of food and fiber, a comfort level that I think is alarming to me, that Americans take their food products for granted. It is a national security issue, and we don't treat it like a national security issue. The fact of the matter is that American farmers, ranchers, and dairymen produce the most cost-effective, healthiest food anywhere in the world that allows the rest of our country to be able to have a healthy diet and to go about their business. And frankly, I think we have to do a better job of highlighting the importance of the security of America's food production as we talk about a host of issues, whether it's economic conditions in our rural communities, whether we talk about the trade agreements, whether we talk about the dairy industry, or whether we talk about cotton, as many of my colleagues have mentioned in their earlier comments and questions. Mr. Secretary, can you please explain to me, and I want to make it local for a moment, just briefly, with the drought conditions that we're facing in California. You're not in control of the water, federal water systems or the state water systems, but what additional aid that the USDA is undertaking to provide emergency assistance for farmers during this drought relief briefly, because I have a couple other questions.
Disaster assistance for livestock producers, additional emergency conservation funding, additional resources from rural development for the development of municipal water systems. Those would be three things: additional research that is allowing us to do better jobs with irrigation, and seed technology that's going to allow us to produce crops with less water.
Well, we appreciate that, and we may be looking at La Nina conditions, sadly, next winter, and we may need more help. Rural definitions are a problem for many of us who have districts, and you've been to my district several times, and I thank you, meeting with farmers and ranchers and dairymen and women, dealing with communities where, you know, the valley's pretty rural, but we have some population centers that are several 100,000 people or more, and the communities within those counties that have a large city are unfortunately impacted because they don't qualify under the rural definition. Could you speak to that for a moment?
Two things we were attempting to do to try to deal with that issue. One is our business and industry loan program. We are now allowing for investments in those communities if we can show that there is a direct benefit to smaller rural areas. So we've provided some flexibility in that program. Secondly, we're working now looking at our portfolio to see if there's ways in which our loan portfolio, water loan portfolio, to see if we could use this as flexible to attract additional private sector investment in communities that often don't get attention.
All right, quickly, you know, California was $54 billion last year at the farm gate. The dynamic, diverse 300 commodities in our agricultural industry. We farmers obviously are proud of that fact, and a lot of people don't realize that of all of those 300 commodities, dairy is the #1 effort. I want to thank you and the USDA's efforts to assist California. In the last farm bill, we gave the opportunity, if California dairymen voted by 2/3, to join the federal milk marketing order. Can you update us on the current status on that effort?
Information is being produced to make sure the transcript is accurate. That will then allow the parties to essentially brief it. Decision will be made, and assuming the decision is to move forward, the referendum will take place shortly thereafter.
Appreciate that. The dairy industry, as you know, is cyclical, and right now we're in a downtime with $12 per hundredweight milk prices and $14, $16 per hundredweight costs of input costs, and it's very tough. Let me finally ask you, can we expect, because out of that agricultural production, A lot of it in California is exported. It's $20.4 billion last year. The negotiations on the economic analysis on a sector-by-sector benefit to American agriculture, can we expect these analyses to be completed prior to the finalization before we vote on the TPP, these trade agreements?
I believe they will be, and there are already analysis available, whether it's the Peterson Institute or the recent Farm Bureau evaluation that was announced yesterday.
We're going to need that information, Mr. Chairman, and as we make our own evaluations on whether or not we're going to vote for that measure at the end of this year, and we appreciate that information, Mr. Secretary. Thank you.